United States created Yellowstone, which was the first national park in the world. It really was the first of its kind. I really need to talk about how unique this is. If you thought the Two Wheels One Compass was just about montages of pretty landscapes, we'll get to that, but this park is really so much more. I'd like to set the stage on how truly innovative Yellowstone itself is for humanity. Back in 1886, Canada was running into a bit of a problem. There was a unique geological feature, like Yellowstone, that Canada wanted to protect, but they weren't sure how to go about it. You see, a new railroad was traversing the continent north of the border and had been running by some steamy, sulfur-rich hot springs. The Dominion of Canada had protected these hot springs in a 10-square-mile park just outside of the city of Banff. These today reside in the province of Alberta. The Canadian Pacific Railway Company was looking for sources of income other than the regular travelers, mined goods, and cash crops. Tourism could bring wealthier passengers, sure, but entire cities could be built around tourism spots, such as these hot springs at Banff. The problem with Banff is that many squatters had taken up residence among the hot springs. Many laid claim to the land and put up shacks around their waters. These men most likely helped build the railroad through the area. Management was non-existent, and they were quite unsanitary without regulation. Looking to the United States, Canada sought a way to create a national park in America's image. In 1887, the Canadian Parliament made Banff the first Canadian national park by copying the exact same legislative language as the US did to make Yellowstone. It was unknown at the time, but the United States and Canada had now pioneered a new way governments and industry interact with the land. Land preservation at this level was a coupling of government, private industry, and environmentalist policy. Government protects and maintains the land, which attracts tourism. Tourism brings business and private industry, which in turn continues to maintain the park. Many cities and towns across the planet have benefited from being situated near national parks. There had never been anything like it. After visiting the American West, the idea of national parks spread to all corners of the globe. Leaders were amazed at the economy-boosting power of conservation. A New Zealand premier had the idea of preserving geothermal hotspots in his home country after an expedition to Yosemite. When Poland opened its first park, the government acknowledged the United States by proclaiming what was written above Yellowstone's North Gate, for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. Europe was already very populated, so they made reserves in their colonies. Britain set aside a park in Australia, the Dutch made one in Java, and Belgium made one in the Congo. National parks have been used to negotiate or extend influence in foreign policy as well. To help show headway in Afghanistan, the US created the first national park in the country, Band-e-Amir. After the fall of the USSR, Bill Clinton extended U.S. influence beyond the crumbling Iron Curtain. He sent park rangers to teach the newly freed nations how to take advantage of the economic opportunities of the great outdoors. Ecuador and Peru ended a border dispute by simply setting it aside as a peace park. Operation Safe Border ended 177 years of conflict in 1998. After ratification, Bill Clinton claimed, "This signing marks the end of the last and longest-running source of armed international conflict in the Western Hemisphere." The idea of national parks made this happen. In the late 1800s, railroads were lobbying for access to the parks after realizing their great source of revenue. Highways were built near the parks, which ended up bringing motels, restaurants, and eventually entire towns. In 1906, railroad executives, entrepreneurs, and representatives from Mexico, the US, and Canada got together to build a continental tourism campaign known as the See America First Tour. Railroads built between the three nations were sure to stop at every national park they could. North America was very isolationist at the time, but they wanted to create a tourism market that would rival that of Europe. Tourists would cross the Atlantic to catch a glimpse of the American West. In a way, this helped build the economies of the scantily populated western states, as well as establish footholds for many European immigrant groups in the region. Movies of the Western genre were filmed in national parks and reserves, cementing the identity of the American West in millions of minds across the planet. These movies would help the Hollywood industry set the stage for the cultural soft power the United States exudes today. It was all with the help of national parks. Even more recently, movies like Forrest Gump, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and The Hunger Games were filmed using national parks. Today, there are 209,000 protected areas across the planet. Of the 197 million square miles of surface area on the planet, 12 million are zoned as protected. Together, they're roughly the size of Africa, covering 6% of the planet's surface area. There are estimates of up to 8 billion visitors to reserves every year.
This is it. I am content. So, there's the bike, there's the tent, there's the bear box. I think everybody's out and about checking out the park right now. It's pretty quiet around here. I'm actually just really content being here. I think it's about 3 o'clock. Almost 3. 10 to 3. And these sites apparently are taken. There's just no one there yet. So I'm learning that there's a lot of things that you got to put in that bear box. Having never had to use one before. All the cooking supplies, even water. We have the torches, just because food may have fallen on them while they were being used. Cookingware, of course, because it was used. I used this table to cut things on and use this to cut it. Food, obviously, tuna creations, a lot of them. Tea, coffee, rice. This has a scent. Water, can't apparently be with you. Toiletries, such as toothpaste, the MREs. So, cooking utensils, everything like that. For right now, I'm just gonna sit on my chair and then just relax for a second. And then I might head over to Mammoth Springs. And then tomorrow, all I really want to see more than anything is Old Faithful and some geysers, some geologic activity. So, this is it. Did it.